Welcome to the e-commerce growth show, brought to you by Segmentify.
Welcome to the e-commerce growth show. This is the first recording of 2021, I'm pleased to say. I'm in Bristol, as you know, and in the middle of another full lockdown. So at the moment, my cocktail of juggling, if you like, is 2 kids, 2 different curriculum. My wife juggling 2 days a week, obviously me doing my job, and no internet bandwidth. So let's see how we get on today. But I'm really excited to speak today about a very, very important on persona topic, if you like, at the moment. And I'm going to be talking to Deri Jones. Now, Deri is a very experienced tech entrepreneur and founder and CEO of ThinkTribe. And ThinkTribe help brands with fast and error-free user experiences. So we're going to talk a bit today about how that fits into the current climate that we're in. Hey, Deri, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, I'm not in Bristol. I'm down in Canterbury, in the southeast. We didn't get the snow day before yesterday, but I did drive through it on the way out of London. So yeah,
we had some fun. We had, I don't know, 2 or 3 inches, but it was enough to make a reasonably big snowman and have a snowball fight. And the kids are on the trampoline as well with all the snow all over it. So that was kept them occupied and trying to find things to do at the moment with obviously the restrictions and so on. But, why don't we start with a quick icebreaker? You mentioned to me earlier that the internet was founded or started in Canterbury. Tell us more.
Yeah, it's one of those Michael Caine things, isn't it? Not a lot of people know that. Everybody assumes London, but it was actually a spin out from the University of Kent here in Canterbury, which is how I moved down here 25 years ago. They had a bunch of techies in the computer lab using this operating system called Unix, and they were dialing up via modem into the States, into American universities and so on. And the TCP/IP protocol had been developed. This is even before Tim Berners-Lee did his magic stuff, inventing the web protocol. So the internet was there. You could do emails, you could do other stuff, but you couldn't do web. And so I came down and they had some techies, and the university didn't really know what they had. So I wrote them a business plan. I became their first sort of business commercial employee, and I grew them from 3 techies to 30 staff, and all the rest is history. A funny story there. A year or 2 later, I got a phone call from a guy with a posh accent from London saying, "Hi, I'm looking to buy the internet." I said, "Well, I can't sell you the internet, I'm afraid." I might have got a London Bridge I could sell. No, I haven't got one of those. But so it was just those days when people really didn't know what the internet was and so on. So it was fantastic days.
So you've seen the entire journey from basically it being nothing to being what it is now, like the absolute backbone of the world, right?
Yeah, I mean, I remember a job I did before. Before that was I spent 6 months with a medical missionary society going around Europe, wiring up their offices so they could do emails to Africa. So they were remote staff, and these modems were like, just so slow. But that was wonderful. You could do international email. So before that, I've done a couple of startups, and digital background, but moved across to marketing in my late 20s. Did the marketing diploma and so on.
Yeah, wow, great journey. So you've seen so much. Well, obviously now we're going to talk about the company that you founded, ThinkTribe, and that you run now, and that's obviously all about customer experience. And of course, we're very much both in the same world when it comes to that. So as you mentioned, I mean, it's come into even more sharper focus now with what's going on with the accelerated shift to online. I suppose the key thing is to optimize CX, but the impact that might have on the quality of the online experience and how that affects the customers obviously comes into that sharp focus as well. So could you kind of open the chat around that side of things for us?
Yeah, I mean, customer experience, we're talking about it a lot now. The economic history, 100 years ago, we had our first factories and you could buy mass-produced products. So it was all about, I can sell what I make. And then we turned into a service-based economy. And now we're much more, whatever product or service you sell, the last battleground is the customer experience of the
Yeah.
process of buying and using and phoning and emailing and Twittering and online. So online customer experience, we all know, is king now, but there's a collision course that we're all stuck in. I want to improve my customer experience. I want to change my website. I want to plug in some cool plugins. I want to revamp, replatform.
Yeah.
But all those technical changes introduce technical risk.
Yeah.
And we've all experienced those, sites that weirdly are slow unexpectedly when they were fast a minute ago, or you put something in the basket and then it won't let you check out, or there's so many ways. We just know that technology has bugs, and so we go hell for leather to digitally transform, and at the same time we go take a step back and are losing some customer experience and credibility. And of course, only a few disgruntled users make a lot of noise on social media.
No, absolutely. So before we go into the solution side of it, the challenges in general, because obviously I know from our experience that when you're talking to a brand and they have a lot of tech on their site already, or you're looking to test with a proof of concept or something like that, it's very, very important in terms of the technology that the supplier is providing that brand, in terms of making sure it doesn't slow down the site or cause problems or whatever it might be, especially at the kind of digital merchandising level, the engagement level, and stuff that requires a lot of JavaScript and so on. Talk us through some of the challenges that you've experienced and the reasons why obviously ThinkDrive came about to try and solve those.
Website technology has changed so much since I started the company 15 years ago, whatever. Back in the day, it was HTML and images, and that's all you had. And then CSS came along, and now, of course, everything's driven by JavaScript, and the browsers do a whole lot more. So what we're after is a really, a powerful bit of software running your store, and lots can break. So different organizations have different sort of pain points where they realize, gosh, I've got to take seriously this gap between the CX we wanted to build and the features we are building, and actually the glitches and the weird slowdowns and so sometimes it occurs after people have a problem, like nobody on iPhone could place an order for 3 hours. There was some weird thing that only affected iPhone users, and they're one of our biggest client markets. That was painful. Or people have, less so now, but 3-4 years ago, people would have issues where whole chunks of their site would just not perform for hours at a time. Now it tends to be that, gosh, we had something happen last night. We had an increase in the number of complaints last night on the call center, and so it's unexpected slowness. It's these glitches, like we get wonderful ones. We had one where a shoe store, you'd go online, you'd search for the shoes you'd like, you'd say, okay, that color, that size, add to basket. You'd look at the basket and say, those are not the shoes I clicked on. It's a different pair of shoes. And that in the end wasn't even a problem on the website so much as in their back end business logic, that they'd put in duff data. Website had tried to render it, and it defaulted to shoes SKU number 1 or something like that. And so wasn't really the web front end or web technical team at all to blame. So it is complicated. So organizations, some retailers are only just really going hell for leather on digital in the last year. They weren't really present online, and everybody is now. So
completely. That was what I was going to add, actually, that we're talking about the overall climate at the moment. Obviously, we've been through multiple lockdowns now, and the initial sort of panic phase and so on, and then obviously the reactions that have been going on. Have you seen a lot of businesses actually trying to, rush even harder to drive the change to help engage better with this kind of new shift in accelerated online purchasing at the moment?
I think that's probably a general trend across all of retail. Whether you're a starter and all you had was 2 pages on WordPress and suddenly you wanted to start selling online, right up to the big guy saying, our stores are closed. We better accelerate some of those new, better features we wanted on the online store, because that's we've got clients like Dixon's, PC World, Coes. They do is it 6 billion turnover company, and their online doubled, and that's a big number. It was already a big chunk of their turnover, and now it was twice as big. So there's huge, and of course we know people have had problems on warehousing and ability to ship the product. But a lot of websites have changed a lot, and people want to change even more this year.
And like some of the functionality that you experience and come across that brands are looking to change, improve, enhance, what sort of things have you seen?
It varies from people doing more and more sort of marketing plugins, things that the marketing guys can do without a lot of tech involvement. I've got some maverick views about artificial intelligence and machine learning in this space, but so whether it's plug-in to do better search or personalization, right through to people saying we've been putting it off, but we've got to re-platform now. This technology is so long in the tooth. The technical debt is killing us. Let's re-platform, but let's try and do it in 6 months, not the 18 months we were thinking of. Having said that, some big organizations have just, last year, a lot of those projects were shelved for a while. So now it's waking up again, and people are, there's a lot more activity.
So what's the, I want to hear these maverick views of yours.
Well, it's because I'm a weird guy, because I started in technology. I did a degree in electronics at Cambridge, and then I shifted across to business, commercial marketing, and I've been a CEO for a while. And so I'm unusual in that sense. So it's funny how technical fads get picked up by the mainstream. So 2-3 years ago, it was blockchain. Blockchain was just going to be a wonderful thing, and there are some niche areas where it really helps. But lots of startups were offering blockchain competition to Uber taxis, or loads of those have come and gone. Millions have been invested by VCs and wasted because it was a problem looking for a solution. But more currently, machine learning. There's no doubt that machine learning as a technology is just advancing incredibly rapidly. And some of it's quite funny. Some of it, I don't know if you saw the dancing robots from Boston Robotics.
No.
Those robotics use a lot of machine learning, although they have to train them to do those cool dances. But solving complicated medical biochemistry analysis and so on, beating everybody at chess and Go and games. But so there's some real benefits. But the places where it doesn't really work is where you want more than 85%. Machine learning tools are great if you say, I've got this huge data set. There's no way we're going through this manually. There's no simple statistics or spreadsheets we can do. So let some machine learning train up, and we'll tell it which of these profiles are customers and which aren't, and it'll come back and tell us what future customers might look like. And if you're happy with an 85% accuracy, that's great, because you can't really tune it. Once you build it, you can't tune it to make it better. That's the problem with it. It's a black box. So there are places like that doing stuff that you couldn't do before. But in a lot of places, when people say it's AI, it's really just a bit of statistics. It's just a bit of spreadsheet thinking. If a client does this and a client did that and they showed up here, then they're in our sweet spot and we'll target them. That's not really machine learning.
No, I agree actually. A lot of people, I think, badge the AI term, throw it around a lot, but like you say, we would say Segmentify is a machine learning platform ultimately. We can say AI, but it's machine learning. I think you're right. One of the reasons why Segmentify has been able to really help brands is because it does combine not just a black box algorithm side of things, but has that ability to tune them either on an individual kind of variable level, whether it be a specific brand or variant level logic, if you like, but also from a segmentation point of view as well. So you can really start to dive down into that database and actually create your own custom segments, which has become very popular. It just gives much more power to the brand to say, well, hold on a minute, it's all very well saying that you've got your Richie Riches, your VIPs and so on, but actually I've just noticed that people are scrambling to buy nappies, or whatever it is. I want to build a segment and a campaign around those users to obviously maximize the experience, coming back to what you said at the beginning, your CX and your journey for those particular users. So I totally agree with you. I think our whole business globally has noticed how that ability to bring that sort of finite detail to the table to enhance the machine learning does in fact push the boundaries of that 85% and take it up.
I think that's spot on, because the pure AI often over promises, but I think what you do at Segmentify, as you say, gives it that extra level of detail, that extra of knowledge and insight and segmentation around it, and then it becomes really powerful. Absolutely.
It's been an interesting journey for us, because we'd always had that kind of bespoke logic within the platform, but more recently, from customer demand, it was more around how do we get more out of our data, not just from a one-to-one user experience point of view. You go on a website, you're going to want to expect that if you're looking at a medium, jacket in a price point of 150 quid and it doesn't happen to be in stock, you are going to want to expect something equivalent within those parameters, and that's really almost a given in a good machine learning platform. And then obviously you need the speed to deliver it. But then the customer demand started coming through the woodwork, through the account management function. It was like, we need more intel. We want to be able to build our own customized segments. And then obviously we got to work sort of 6 months ago. So it's been exciting developments based on demand, the sort of things you're talking about, So moving over to, what you do within the CX environment, tell us a bit more about how brands are really ensuring, because it's all very well me talking about Segmentify, putting it on a site and all the rest of the stuff like we said at the beginning. How do you address making sure that the CX experience is optimized to customers whilst they're driving change, testing, and whatever else they're trying to do?
So that's exactly what we do. We want e-commerce directors to sleep at night, and we want e-commerce merchandising and business guys to better crack on with getting the job done, changing stuff fast, doing the digital transformation fast, without having to worry about that little gap between what we thought we built and what we actually built, and the glitches in the middle. So that's really what we do. At one level, you can say we are basically mystery shopping on steroids. That's what our tool does.
Really,
it actually visits your website and does what customers do. All the complexity and intelligent choices and randomness and so on. So by doing that, and our core focus, 80% of what we do is on live sites, because that's the only truth, isn't it? Is your live site. Obviously companies do lots of testing in the various stages of software development life cycle. But it's only when you go live with all of your plugins, all of your stuff, all of your CDNs, all of your cloudy stuff, whatever it is. That's the only truth you've got, and so that's what we measure. So we measure that 24/7, and our magic source is that our software tool is intelligent. It's able to respond to the way your site changes. So if you have if suddenly you have a sale section pop up that wasn't there before, that's fine. We'll find that. We'll track that as well. We won't throw up any errors. Similarly, when it disappears, we won't say, "Oh, it's a failure. Your sales has gone," because if a product's no longer findable on your site, we'll never complain that it's not viable. We're always looking in the live site, doing what customers do, and so to a great extent, it's almost a fit and forget it. We work closely with e-commerce tech guys and delivery guys to provide a whole stack of useful information for them so they can fix stuff. But at the manager level, it's like, here's the wallboard, it's all green. Okay, guys, I don't need any meetings this week. That's fine. Carry on. Good work, guys. Keep it up. More releases this week. Great. Or I can see some red, on Friday night, guys. Can you make sure that doesn't happen again? And if the tech team say, well, that problem we've been talking about, that's why we want that budget. That's why we want 2 guys for a month. So the boss can say, okay, I'll give you those resources as long as you promise that it won't go red again for that reason. It'll be green from here on in. So again, it allows the management to manage that gap between what we think we've built with our tech and what we've actually built. Because it's quite tricky. A lot of organizations have quite a long bug list that they're aware of. Everybody has a bug list. And so we're able to help you prioritize it and say, we can flag up how common these are, etc. And just take away all that. So a lot of what we say, Dixon's called us years ago, we help to unite the tribes. At a senior level, we unite the teams in your organization. We stop the little friction between marketing and tech. We stop the friction between internal tech teams and external tech teams doing stuff. We stop fights between retailers and their A/B multivariate third parties when they blame each other why the A/B test didn't work and it's not providing the value you promised. We don't want to pay the money, and it's like, but we find weird things like they thought they were putting 50% on the A/B tests, 50/50, and they weren't. So the statistics they were making decisions on were not true anymore.
That's important, isn't it?
That's really important.
you like? I mean, going just a little bit deeper in terms of the tech, if you like. I mean, it sounds really, really exciting around. So is it automated algorithms or something that are driving sort of large load processes around what a human might be doing with the site and picking up the glitches that it somehow feeds back?
Yeah, it's pretty close. I mean, there's two core deliverables. There's the 24/7 one,
Yeah.
so that as you release, we spot things immediately. You know, day and night, you get automated alerts detecting problems and so on.
Yeah.
And then we have the as planned load testing, stress testing, where we're going to thrash your website,
Right.
so you can prove beforehand
Yeah.
how big is our online store.
Yeah. Yeah.
And our magic sauce there is we don't just tell you a meaningless number like 10,000 concurrent users, which we hear all the time. It's such an easy number to get from your system, but it means literally nothing.
Okay. Yeah.
Because 10,000 people hit your homepage, go away.
Yeah.
That's 10,000 users.
Yeah.
10,000 people, of whom 3,000 put 3 things in the basket and check out, and 3,000 search for 10 products, and that's still only 10,000 users. So totally different load on your website. So the load testing is done, out of hours and planned in advance, so that we're not inconveniencing real customers. So the tool has got a lot of years of business logic and awareness of how websites work and what choices are, so that we can track a lot of the site changes on your website without throwing what's the bane of testing. The problem with any testing is you end up with false alerts.
Right.
And particularly when you're digitally transforming and changing the website and doing stuff and doing plugins. Normal testing approaches, you keep getting errors that aren't errors, and so a lot of people back off from testing the live site for that reason. They only test the safe little environment earlier in the software process. So that's our engine done. It's very intelligent. It looks at the stuff. It really looks in the live page. It's not making assumptions about what ought to be there. It's just saying, is the product there? It clicks on the buttons. It finds out. There's so many ways that clicking on the add to basket button doesn't work. There's so many combinations that can cause that to fail. But it's only by us doing it that we find them out. So it's a bit like taking a car for test drive. You can do stuff in the garage.
Very interesting. I'm just thinking, even in my own experiences, when you hit a 404 page, for example, just like a simple broken link, I'm imagining it's going to pick up stuff like that pretty.
Yeah, I mean that's the easy stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Does it run like thousands of tests like per second or something? How do you cope with the volume of all the things you have to test and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, across all of our clients, we are running thousands of tests a second. Yeah,
wow,
absolutely. When we're load testing, it's tens of thousands a second. Per client. I mean, our guys who do the Coe's load testing, they're called the £420,000 per minute club, because that's how many TVs they buy when they're load testing. That's probably out of date. That was from a couple of years ago. Because it's obviously a huge website and a huge capacity, user capacity. But obviously 24/7, we're not going to load the website down for that. We're measuring it. We are running combinations of journeys. But you're not going to notice, particularly in the traffic there at all. And it's a really thing to start. It's a really, because everything we do is from outside, doing what users do. There's no setup time. You don't need to talk to your software guys about plugins. We just kick it off. So, okay, what are we doing? Let's have a look. Let's start some stuff, and we just start tomorrow morning and start feeding you back the results.
I realize, I mean, something that's really interesting, isn't it? Like around this, and you mentioned it before we came live, was about how sometimes technology providers like Segmentify, for example, would potentially take ownership of a website for a time, even in a test mode maybe, but then switch that to live, where you're creating the divs and maybe the widgets and so on. So I mean, in that scenario, it'd be perfect, wouldn't it, to be running tests and making sure that anything that when you switch that from a test environment to live is spot on, is being checked by the security guard 24/7 to make sure it's all tickety-boo.
Absolutely. It's risk reduction. It's insurance to say whatever you've just changed, go hell for leather. But we'll keep an eye on it for you in case something slips through the net. And it, as you say, it's about different teams. It's about we're no longer in control of our own websites. Retailers are trusting you for some of the stuff. They're putting in other plugins. So there's all sorts of JavaScript and code that their site depends on that they don't even own or control. And it's changed hour by one of these third parties. Some of which, some of which they've got a say over. Some of it's just they're buying in a SaaS service, and they've got no say over what JavaScript changes are made. So it's really hard to blame. Something goes wrong. What's happened and where is it?
Yeah. What about the code audit type stuff? Does it all pick up like legacy code that's on a website doesn't need to be anymore, and things like that as part of the standard sort of process picking up stuff?
Yeah, I mean, we start with the high level. We're measuring the speed of every page. We're videoing every page, so you can always look back and say how what was that glitch? What does it really look like? And we're saving every component that makes up the page. So you can start at high level and say, gosh, we've got some pages that are much, why is this page 2 meg and those are only 1 meg? Or so you can start from the top. How is that impacting the delivery? And then, it's very much a managed service. We work with clients as well as them getting the the automated alerts and reports. We'll be pinging them saying, gosh, we've just seen this happen. We've seen that happen at two other clients who are using the same plugin or whatever. Just be aware. Or gosh, I mean, sometimes we act as kind of user experience advisors saying, do you realize it's 7 clicks for those shoes, but only 3 for those? Gosh, that's not very user friendly. Not our job to comment on the client's user experience design.
It's feedback, isn't it? For sure.
But it's good feedback. But certainly in terms of libraries, we say, gosh, there's a whole whole pile of JavaScript coming down that's just not used anywhere, and you probably need to tidy up.
Just a little bit about ThinkTribe itself. I mean, I'm interested. What territories you serve, and also give us your feedback on the types of brands that would really get the most out of this type of technology across any specific verticals or size of businesses and so on.
So we work with over 50 mostly UK blue chip retailers. So we've got the fast growing guys like FitFlop. We've got classic fashion or whatever, Mulberry, Jigsaw, Bowden. We've got electricals, Dixon's, Coe's. We've got big brands like Ralph Lauren. We have non e-commerce as well, finance sectors and so on, where people quite big in ticketing and events, where your website experience is key. The point where we particularly add value is where you haven't just started on the internet e-commerce sales path, but you're getting a bit bigger. You've got more complexity happening. You're trying to do more with your plugins and your platform. You're experimenting with Segmentify. You're bringing in personalization. You're bringing in stuff, and it's starting to get quite a lot of balls up in the air. And that's when little glitches can really hit your customer experience, and it's really hard to keep everybody on the same wavelength and talking the same. But a common set of metrics we can come in and clarify, save a lot of friction, save a lot of meetings. So it's people at that kind of transition. So it's not the very small retailers who are just starting, but the ones who are starting to go up and are starting to accelerate fast. I was talking last week to some guys. They were doing 3 million, last year. They're doing 15 million this year. The lockdowns really helped them hugely. So they're the kinds of guys saying, "Gosh, we've been doing this on a shoestring and doing it, but we've really now got to do this properly. And we need some help to prioritize." And
completely. If you were to put, I don't know, any sort of numbers behind the types of businesses in your experience that really benefit from this kind of thing, I don't know, say in terms of traffic levels or transaction levels or something, how do you quantify that normally?
Any pure play retailer who's doing more than 3 or 5 million online should be thinking about this stuff. So certainly anybody who's doing more than 10 million online, it's just worth it. That if we're not finding 1% and 2% of glitches and slowness, which we do every day, then that's worth fixing it and protecting your long tail and just protecting the bigger stuff that gets through, like the problems where you can't have it. So all the Android guys have a problem for several hours. You just can't afford that in today's world.
Really. No, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, so if anyone who's been listening and watching wants to get in touch with ThinkTribe, what's the best way to get hold of yourself for a chat or one of the team?
Reach out to me on LinkedIn. There aren't many Deri Joneses, Deri Jones. It's a pretty rare, wacky. I'm a half Welsh guy. Find me under ThinkTribe on LinkedIn.
Awesome, that's great. And just to finish off, then, give us your golden nugget for our viewers. Something out of the vaults of Deri Jones's vast experience.
Ooh, golden nuggets. They're I should charge for those, really, shouldn't I?
No, definitely,
What's a golden nugget? I think it's just that it's realism. It's customer experience is the final battleground. Forget having the best products and the best services. That's not possible to be unique anymore. But It's their customer experience. So get realistic. Get your teams together. Get your tech guys and your marketing and merchandising guys together, and say, let's measure this. Let's have a single truth, so that we don't get tripped up about this from time to time. So that kind of bring the teams together is the way forward.
Oh, I completely agree with that. I mean, culturally, you're tapping in there, aren't you, to making sure there's communication and honor between the teams, so that people can work without, the usual things that ruin businesses, right? Any toxicity or stuff. And if you, like you say, if you've got a realistic way of measuring stuff, and like you said at the beginning, giving unity between the tribes, that's a great golden nugget takeaway for sure. Well, Deri, thank you so much for the chat.
Thank you, Phill. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, it's been really appreciate having you on. And just remains for me to say to you guys, if you haven't already and you want to sign up to get any future episodes of the show, and obviously access Deri as well whenever you want, just chip over to segmentify.com/EGS. And as always, if you're interested in being involved, got any questions, Deri or I, or anybody on the series, then just give me a shout anytime. I'm at Phill@segmentify.com. All right, but have a wonderful rest of your day, and have a productive lockdown. Let's hope we get out soon and can start enjoying life a bit more. But thanks again, Deri.
Thank you, Phill.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.